this this is not my universe. you know I just woke up and I've just realized about this, that I want to share with you all in this video. That that I just have this sudden realization that that this is not my universe, and it will never be. It might seem like an obvious statement at first, right? But you know if I could actually try to explain it deeper, much more deeper, you know um, it actually means a lot more important things. Then I want to share it. I want to share some of those things, like what it really means. Have like like have you ever I mean, yeah, this world, I mean, life, this life, as I'm looking out at my room's window right now, as you can see, maybe that you can see like the flower, and the plants and things like that, right? Just outside of this my room window. You know, this world, life, this life is actually uh, there are some good things. There are some good things about this life, this world. Objectively speaking, you know, I wouldn't, even if this YouTube channel might sound like pessimistic, right? Too negative or whatever. Even at even in this video, even I will admit, and I've actually admit this in previous videos too, actually, that life, you know this world, it has some good things. It has some good things. you know there are some good things, but we cannot deny that there are some bad things too. There are some really really bad things, in this world, in life, in this life, in this existence, you know in this universe. And that's the problem. There is a popular debate, in religion, especially in like in like theistic theistic religion, right? I'm a my family come from Christian background, right? So I you can say that I'm a Christian too, supposedly. In Christianity, you have this, the theological problem. It's called the very famous one. It's called the problem of evil. The problem of evil. You know, and basically it goes like something like, that if God is good, if God who creates this world, is really good, and really also really benevolent, but also really like powerful, almighty, and all these things. But how, and when it say that God is good, right? Then why are there so many pain and suffering? Why is there evil? Why is there evil? Why is there, you know why is there so much pain and suffering, in this world, in this realm, in this reality, you know. It's There is still no definitive answer, you know, because we just don't know, like we just don't know, you know. I think human beings, you know, we as human being, most of us just try to create an explanation, you know, creates actually so many explanations, you know, for for what's going on, you know. But the thing is, again, like I've said in the beginning of, you know, the main theme of this video that I want to talk. This is not my universe. This is not your universe, and this is not our universe. You know, it will never be. Meaning that we cannot control it. You know, we cannot control it according to what we really want it to happen. You know, we cannot do we cannot really do much anything about it, you know. Like we just have to accept it, you know. Like this is life, you know. This is life, you know. That's life, you know. Have you heard people often saying these words, right? That's life, you know. This is life, you know. Like why are you going to do about it, you know? Like nothing, you know. You can, I mean, of course, you know, you can try, you know. People always try, you know. Of course, we as that's what we do, you know. Every Not just only human beings, you know, animals, nature, you know, everything, you know. Life, it you know, life emerged from nothing, right? If we want to talk about it deeper. And to emerge from nothing, it tries, you know, it tries, right? You know, I just have a sudden, you know, enlightenment about it, you know. Actually a moment of enlightenment, you know, so to speak, you know. Everything tries, you know, everything tries in this existence, right? We all try, you know, we all, of course we're all trying, you know, in even the most how to say this, you know, even the most pessimistic person, you know, at least he or she has tried before, you know, has tried before, you know, before, I don't know, before life happens, you know, before shits happen, you know, that makes that person, you know, become pessimistic, before, you know, before life changed them, you know, before reality changed people, you know, before reality changed some of us, you know. the the pain, the suffering, the problem, the hardships, the cruelty, the injustice, the unfairness, the random absurd, senseless, you know, life changed some of us, you know, maybe for worse. It's not always for better, you know. Wake up to reality, right? As I often talk in this video. We've tried, but, you know, try as we might, you know, we still cannot change some things, or even a lot of things, you know, in in our life, or in this life, you know. Because again, this is not our universe, you know. This is not, we don't have full power, we don't have full control, you know. We don't have full power, we don't have full control about so many things in this realm, you know, in this existence, you know, in this life, in this world. We cannot, you know. Some people even actually experience, that, you know, their wars are closing in, there is a phrase, English phrase like that, the walls are closing in, meaning that, their, how to say, like their life becomes so limited, very limited, limiting, reality is so limiting, reality is so limited, that it narrows down everything, it crushes, destroy, it crumbles everything, hopes, their dreams, their hopes, their expectation, their, their happiness, until there is nothing left, there is nothing left, you know that's how, that's just how life is, that's just how reality is, this world, this universe, this existence, whatever, this society, you could also say, it kills, it destroy, it crush so many people, you know and not just only people, mind you, you know also like animals, other creatures, species, hold on, let me just open the window a little bit. You see my point? There you go. Now you can see again the plants. Don't mind about all my books here. Should I do a room, my room tour? Maybe someday, okay? Let me zoom in. See, you can see all the beautiful plants, the flowers, you see? All the colors. Look at it. It's just sad, the more I think about it, like, for example, I've talked before, right? Just now, I've talked, in the beginning of the video, that there are some good things, right? For example, music. I'm a musician myself, right? Although I'm nowhere successful. I'm not successful, you know. In fact, if you still remember from all my previous video, I will admit that I'm a failure. I'm a loser, But I don't want to reveal all the details about my life yet in this YouTube channel yet. Okay. But still, I'm a musician. I love music. I've actually just performed in a concert, in a, quite some local community orchestra. Again, I won't tell you the name of the orchestra for privacy, to keep it secret for now. But it's a local small concert. Well, not like around 300, 400 people, in this place, in this concert hall. It was nice, it was good, there was like a warm, heartwarming, not just only musically, but also like, the community, my community, which is full of people so much more younger than me, you know but what I really want to talk is like, see, the window keep closing. You see how absurd, I talk about how absurdity, in my previous video. Like, you've noticed, right, that like I have to open it again, for the wind, for the air to come in to my room. But You know my point? Okay, some people might say that it's just wind, it's just windy and whatever, but I cannot help to think, like it's absurd. Hold on, let me also open something in my computer here. It's just absurd, you know like it's like life is like that, right? Life is, hey, life is like that, like just like that, like no matter, see, like no matter with what we try to do, sometimes, life just keep closing in, so to speak, life just keep closing in, reality keep closing, limiting, limiting everything, limiting our life, our efforts, our luck, so to say, our chance opportunities, you know anyway, let me continue again, because this is important. I want to mention, like, see, I love music, right? This is one thing that I really love, and but even if I love music, the music that I love, it also, at the same time, it also hurts, to know that, I cannot become so to speak, like, a, a full-time musician, so to speak, like, you know that's why I'm saying that I'm quite a failure, my image, on the surface level, people might, look at me, my my Instagram, especially in IG Instagram, the post, and people might think, wow, I'm successful. Look at, look at you, you're successful. And no, it's far from that. People don't know the whole story. you know I'm a failure. I'm really a loser, a middle aged failure loser, actually. Even though even chat AI doesn't agree with me. you know Chat AI, with chat, I chat with chat GPT, DeepSeek and everything, right? Even Grok also, like, it says, no, no, you're not a failure, you're not a loser, that's just, but whatever, but I think the harsh reality is still the same, like, here I am right now, in my room, on weekday. This is Today is Friday here, Friday afternoon. Like, let me look at the clock. It's almost 12:30 here on the afternoon. Everybody's going to work and everything busy outside. In a way, yeah, I know, my life is quite good. I'm quite privileged, and even have it good. A lot of people have it so much worse than me. But my point is this, still, even despite all these good things happening in my life, like I've said earlier in the beginning of the video, the thing is, there are still some quote unquote bad things too. There are still a lot of big main problems in my life. Important problems that I still, making me stressful. So stressed, and I don't even know, like, how, like, what to do. Because I'm just basically just stuck. At least in my mind. In my feeling. My heart. I just cannot do anything much about it. That this is what I mean. Like, this is again back to my main topic. Okay, this is not my universe, right? This is not our universe. There are some things that no matter what, I or not you, or we, no matter what we want to do, what we want to achieve, what we want to try, what we expectation, our expectation, what we expect, what we hope, what we wish, what we dream, what we dream about, what we dream of, what we even fantasize, fantasy, our what we imagine, it still does one always become a reality. It doesn't, it will not happen. It will not always happen exactly just like what we want it to be. See, the win again. I have to open it again. See how absurd? Life is absurd. For example, this is also one thing that I want to talk. I already think about, that I want to talk. There is this new recent movie by Steven Spielberg. It's called Disclosure Day, right? Disclosure Day. You can go watch it in the. I just watched it 2 days ago in the cinema theater alone, just by myself. So sad, right? It's sad. It's sad. And yeah, you know, I've always loved like the movie. The movie theme is actually about aliens, right? Extraterrestrial. Whether there is like, is there like, it's asking quite a big, even existential questions. Even philosophical question. Like, in this universe, are we alone in this universe? Related also with the main theme. The topic title of this video. Like, yeah, this is not my universe. This is not your universe. This is not our universe. But in this universe, are we really alone? Are we alone or not? Like, see, I've always been fascinated always with astronomy ever since I was a little kid. You know, I love to look at the stars. Even still until now. My childlike nature. People would say I'm even childish. In my quite old age. You know. Hold on, let me see. Hold on, let me do something. My computer. Okay, I continue again. But this movie, like Disclosure Day. Oh, by the way, the music is by the John Williams, right? Oh my God, I really want to rewatch it again. Actually, watch it for the second time. It's really brings back the 90s nostalgic vibes. It makes me feel like a child again. A child. I almost even cry. In when watching the movie in the theater cinema. Because there are some scenes that it's not a perfect movie, of course, but for like 2 hour and almost 2 hour and 20 minutes. Quite a long movie. There are some scenes that in the movie, in the film, that really touch me deeply. Deeply touch me. Because it's, I'm sure it's a lot. It also touch a lot of people's hearts and emotions. And feelings and mind. Even soul. So to speak. Not literally. I don't know if it's the literal soul exists or not. It's real or not. Anyway, that's for another topic. Okay, another deep topic discussion. So you know my point is, that movie Disclosure Day is about the revealing of the that, hey, there is actually, we're not alone. There is another life. There is another life form. There is another, like, another being. Another being. Another extraterrestrial being. There is alien. Alien really exists. you know and it reveals to us, in a, looks like almost like in real life, in reality, in real world, like with all the news, the CNN, and everything. But then, the movie finished, the movie ends, and then what? Back to reality. We're all back to reality. And most people, I would say, like, I would argue, like, maybe like 90 or even 99% of people, human beings who watch the movie, maybe they can just, oh, okay, just shrug it off, and then they just go back, to go to eat, or go to work, on the next day or whatever. But me, I'm being a very, as I'm imaginative. I've always been very imaginative person. you know Creative, imaginative person, right? I cannot help but think, this is actually the source of my existential crisis, existential depression. I've talked about this in my previous video, many of my previous videos, actually, about the reality versus imagination, human dilemma. Human's dilemma. you know Deeply existential, philosophical dilemma, actually, even. you know Anyway, see, no matter how much, I really wish, that movie is really real, or really comes true, like, hey, there is alien. Alien is real. UFO is real. We're not alone in this universe. hey, finally, it's revealed, it's disclosure day, the title of the movie, right? It's disclosure day to reveal that, hey, there are actually other species, other aliens, advanced, beings, extraterrestrial and whatever, but and then when we go back again to reality, and then what? There is nothing, nothing. You still wake up and then you still meet what? Every day you still meet with other human beings, it's always humans. Or there are animals, there are plants, there are, dogs, cats, pets, all these cute little animals, of course, or even fascinating animals like peacock, for example, right? you know Nature is, again, nature is full of really amazing things too, and wonders, yeah, of course, life is full of wonders. And music, remember, music is being one of them. Like in this movie, in this film, I've just talked, right? It's a scoring, music scoring by John Williams, right? Oh my god, the music is really really good, and then there is also another music that I just, I'm really, it's from an anime called Kids on the Slope, Sakamichi no Apollon. It's also really really good. The music by Yoko Kanno. It's actually a Disney song. Uh, Someday my prince will come, right? But it's really, the piano arrangement by Takashi Matsunaga. It's jazzy, but it's also, oh my god, it's just so beautiful. You know what I mean, right? Like there are some good things, but there are still some limitations. Because why? Hey, again, this is not my universe. This is not your universe. This is not our universe. No matter what we want to wish, what we really wish, like, for example, I just talked, we wish that the aliens, extraterrestrial beings, reveal to us, come to us, disclose themselves, but no, in reality, nothing happened, business as usual. I really really, sorry, I fucking hate that word, because it's so boring, like this is what I hate, about this life too. This world is, at the same time, it's so boring. Every day people just keep doing the same thing, wake up to the same routines, right? Wake up, go to work or go to school, and from morning 9 to 5 morning until evening, and then go back again, doing some errands, some routines, you know and then what, they go to eat, and then they go back to sleep, and repeat again, tomorrow wake up and the same thing. Sometimes, there are, of course, entertainment, distractions, and family and relationships, friends and everything, right? Of course, but basically the whole thing, it remains the same. It keeps circling, it keeps circling, keep the same, repeating, right? We're basically like looping. That's what humans life, our life are, most of us, keep repeating, keep doing the same thing over and over and over and over again, until we die, you know until we die, until there's nothing left anymore. Like, you often think like that's it, like we're born in this red race. I'm sorry for my pronunciation. Again, English is not my native language, not my first language. People just born to, to exist in a red race, in the to work for corporations, for these businesses, companies, to, I write this online, some days ago. What we just exist to, basically to fulfill, to for supply and demand. Basically that's what our life is, right? If we look at it like cynically, in cynical way, like the pragmatic way, yeah? Even pragmatic way, the practical, realistic way. Life is basically, our life is just for, consumption, and just to fulfill this quote unquote supply and demand chain, supply and demand economic, right? Like that's what life is all about, isn't it? Like how depressing it is, like to know that, see, when we were kids, we don't know that life would be like this, right? We thought, we thought that life is full of wonder, life is full of possibilities, right? But then, we grow up, and then what happened, hey, wake up to reality, right? Wake up to reality, you know all these all these all these beautiful things, nature and everything, right? The flowers and everything, it's being replaced by all these problems, this bureaucracy, procedural routines, errands, work, jobs, those job stress, in whether it's in your office, office related work, with your colleagues, with your boss, for example, or with the company, with corporation, with the long working hours, the endless task to do, the endless mindless work, or if you're in school, homework, projects and this, project that, you know some people are lucky, I've said this, in my previous video. Some people are lucky, they get to do what they dream, their dream job, their dream career, their dream job, their dream career, or business, entrepreneurship, or whatever it is, but not all of us can be like that, right? Not all of us are lucky, some people are lucky, some people are not, that's just the way, nature is. There are winners, there are losers, right? Eat or be eaten, in animal world is also like that, you know and then, like, if we even ants, right? Ants, some ants live, some ants die, I always wrote this also online, talk about it online, it's just the same like us, life is not perfect. This is not heaven, this is not paradise, this is not utopia, this is not nirvana, whatever it is, and in fact, even religions, all religions and spirituality also talk about, you know pain and suffering, suffering this world, that's why, all that's why, hence therefore, that's why, all this religion and spirituality is all trying to, minimize suffering, right? They create, all these mechanism, so to speak, or theory or teaching, like, I have to open the window again, you know it teaches us to, like, how to cope with life, right? Whether it's God, whether it's God, whether it's, sorry, I'm doing something with my computer, the WhatsApp, what? Okay, sorry for the interruption. Okay, we are not free, we're not free. Let me repeat, we this is not my universe, this is not our universe. Like, there are some things that what I like, let me go personal now. There are some things that what I really want, what I really yearn, I've talked about this in my previous video. What I really want, what I really dream about, what I really yearn, I still cannot get it, I still could never attain it, while I just keep watching other people, they just easily, somehow, they're just being lucky, it's just luck, you know whether it's a right place at the right timing, right place at the right time, the right timing, the right, I don't know, meeting the right people, you know for example, I've talked about, how I deeply wish for love, right? Love relationship, even though I've been in a relationship before, right, in the past. But no matter how I tried, but it's still, the reality is, I'm still lonely, I'm still alone, and I don't even know, like, I have this really bad social anxiety right now, that I don't even know what to do anymore, because every time that at anything that I do, everything that I do, that I did, it's always wrong somehow, it's always mistake, that I keep blaming myself, that I'm being such a loser, being a failure, being stupid, but I don't know, maybe it's also, I've also talked about this in the previous video, maybe it's luck, maybe there is some force, I don't know whether it's God, or this universe, or whatever it is, karma or fate, destiny, or whatever, or maybe it's just random chance, or whatever, somehow it just keep, it keeps limiting me, like I cannot I cannot be free, I cannot be free, life is like this. Look at my hand, life is closing down, like, remember I said the walls are closing in, life is closing down like this, it's limiting me, it's limiting me. And maybe you also, see see see, look at that, look at that. Look at that. When I talk about limitation, look at that. When I talk about walls are closing in, the window is closing in again, the wind, I cannot feel the wind anymore, and I have to open again the window. You see what I mean, right? You see what I mean? That's life, man. That's life, folks, people, humans. See, it's closing again. It's win. I know it's win. It's realistically, it's just a win. It's just a win. It's a windy. You know, but come on. Come on. Let's be real. I'm talking about all this, limitation, life limitation. Absurdity, right? And there we go. Here it goes. Here it goes. As if it understand. As if, I don't know, like life or something, whatever it is. Again, this is not my universe. Again, another point, maybe I hope this is going to be a final point, okay, because it's already getting long, the video, as usual, as always. With my videos, like, oh, I've talked about this actually, in the beginning of the video, like, we are not in control. We like, humans, people, human, we as human, I think it's just human nature, deeply speaking, biologically, we like to think that, we're in control. Most people would like to think, wait, we're in control, I'm in control of my life, I you know I'm I determine that I'm the one who going to be successful, I'm the one who will win, I will make it happen, I will make it happen, nothing can stop me, people always love all these platitudes, empty platitudes, cliche, but that's not how life works, let me just put my phone again back. That's not how life works, right, people? You can talk about anything, you can you can try, oh man, let me open again window. Did you see my shirt? Sorry. I'm using a home shirt, so yeah. It's kind of not a good shirt. Anyway, yeah. Let me pick up again my phone. We are not in control of things, there are things that are external things, right? you know You heard about it, right? You've read about it. There are external things beyond our control. Locus of control. There is a phrase, locus of control. I know all about this psychological stuff. The self-help and whatever it is. The trend hype nowadays. The terms, the phrase, whatever it is. Locus of control and everything. I know about this. I know. So don't try to talk me out of it. I know about all these things too. It's all cliche. Toxic positivity, I would say. And this YouTube channel is not for that. You know that, right? This YouTube channel is talking about reality, the harsh reality, the harsh truth that almost people just hate to talk about. People are scared, afraid. People are in denial. Nobody wants to talk about the truth. The harsh reality. Like, you've realized that you're not in control, like what you want to do, the things or whatever it is that that you want, you wish, you hope. you know you can try, of course you can try, and you can succeed too. I'm not saying that, oh, just give up and everything. No, 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 no. Actually, in fact, I'll be very fair. I'm being objective. A lot of people will try and succeed. A lot of people will try and they will win, they will successful. They will get what they want because they try. Oh, I've tried and I win. Yeah, 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 sure. But it's easy, it's so easy for people who are up there. People who are up here, it's so easy for they to forget. Sometimes, they're successful. They can be where they are at the top. It's not only just because of what they're doing, but it's also, there are things that are helping them, or people or whatever. My point is, maybe this is my last point. Sorry, there is another one point, that very important point that I want to talk about. I actually already talked about this I think in the middle of this video, right? I've always been imaginative person, right? And I've talked about this also in my previous video. Like, I've read like people's work of imaginative work, creative works, right? Like, reality versus imagination. Hey, yeah, it's the same thing again. You watch all these movies. You read some good fantasy, science fiction, books, novels, comic books, anime, manga, novels, or whatever it is, even music, painting, drawings, everything and anything. And you look at, all these worlds, all this universe, it's so full of amazing things. Why cannot our life be like that? And then people will say, no, no, this life is full also of, amazing, wonderful things. No, no, that's my point. Of course, I've said, it's full of this life, this reality, this real world, this real life is also full of amazing, wonderful. Sorry, motorcycle, motorbike, just see. You see what I mean? Just this now, there are bird sound, but there are like annoying motorcycle sound. You cannot have it all good. There will always be something bad. That's my point. And there are even some point. There are even, sorry, not point. There are even some things that will not happen in this universe, in this reality. Because it's just our imagination, it's just humans' fantasy. For example, you look at, for example, I've talked about, earlier, I've talked about aliens, extraterrestrial, right? Maybe we will never be able to find it. Maybe there is no alien, maybe there is no other life. Maybe, I don't know. Fermi paradox and things like that. I know. I don't know. It's just so boring and depressing sometimes. Life is just so dull. Like you look at all this beautiful, nature and everything, but and then we're trapped, within our own, you know predicaments, problems, dilemma and everything, and bullshits, basically, bullshit, everyday's bullshit nonsense. We have to deal with trivial petty little things, meaningless things, senseless, mindless things, stupidities everywhere, right? Again, life is not all good. Life, there is some bad, and even really objectively, I've talked about this in my previous video. Some people's life, or perhaps even a lot of people's life, many people's are having a not a good life. They're having, objectively speaking, they're having a hard life. Hard life. You know, really, really hard life even. Are you still going to say that, hey, life is good, 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 life is a gift, life is a gift, life is a gift? Are you still going to be that ignorant, in your toxic positivity, in your optimism bias? I know it's human nature. It's really hard, and also cultural thing, like nowadays, so many taught us about how just be positive, just be optimistic, just be happy, and all those things, be productive, flexing, hustling, and everything, never stop, don't stop, keep running, keep chasing, and also all these shits, I'm talking about all these society's bullshit. But if you're being honest, really, really honest, sincere, and think deeply, feel deeply, just like what I'm doing, what I did, what I do, you will realize, hey, you know, maybe you could even also relate with me, like this is again, my final point, I will end this video back to my original point, this is not my universe. This is not my universe. It's not my universe. It's not your universe. It's not our universe. You know, it's someone else's universe. If there is a God, or higher being, or whatever, even, multi-dimensional being, advanced being, or, universe, sentient universe, or whatever it is, we don't know, right? Again, I even admit, agnostically, agnostic, you know, agnostic epistemology, I think, you know, agnostic existentialism, I think. Like, we don't know, that's the most honest position. Even though it's borderline also nihilistic, cosmic nihilism, like life is meaningless, everything, all of this is just meaningless. I've talked about this in this YouTube channel a lot. You can go watch all my previous videos. I've talked a lot deeper about it, deeply, existentially, philosophically. We're limited, life is limiting, we cannot, I keep repeating this over and over again, and this will be the last time, the final last time, to end this video. This is not our universe, this is not our reality, this is not, this world, this life, it doesn't work like what we expect it to be, what we want it to be, what we hope, what we wish, what we dream. Things, will be disappointing. There are some things that will be out of our reach. We cannot it's just not possible. That's the word. It's not possible. No matter what we do, we're limited. you know you know or there are even some things that are just straight impossible. It won't happen, in our life. you know there are some things, or even some people, some whatever it is, that it's just not our life. It's just not your life, it's not just my life. It's just maybe someone else's life, someone else world, someone else fate or destiny, someone else part. I don't know what's the word right now. it's not meant to be. It's not meant for you, some things are just not meant for you. Some things are meant for maybe other people. You see how frustrating it is. It can be depressing, really. The things that you want, or people, or whatever, the connection, or whatever, the yearning, what you really want, what you really wish, what you really expect, what you really dream of, it will never be part of your life. It will never be part of your reality. It will never become your reality, but it will become someone else life, someone else happiness, you know someone else luck, someone else fate, destiny, or whatever. It's meant for them. It's not meant for you. You know what I'm talking about? Life is divisive. It divides. It divides people. Some people have this, some people don't have this. Some people have that, some people don't have that. This. You know what I'm talking about, right? We cannot have everything. We cannot have everything. We are limited. It's our own situation, condition. Circumstances, life circumstances. You know. You're not God. I'm not God. We're not gods. We're not superpower beings, or whatever, that we can have everything, right? It's bullshit. Don't listen to all these motivational bullshit right now. Self-help talks, motivation seminar and everything. It's bullshit. Oh, you can do everything. You can be anything. Bullshit. You cannot fly right now. Can you fly? Can you fly out of this window and become like a bird? You fly like a Superman or something? See, that's bullshit, right? You cannot be rich. You cannot be. You cannot have. You cannot be famous. You cannot be popular. You cannot be like. You know. Have a big influence, power in this world. You cannot change the world. You cannot even change some people in your family, in your friends, right? You cannot even change important things, close in your life. You cannot even change yourself, maybe. You even have a hard time, to change your life. See, that's how life is. This is not our universe. We are limited. That's the point. That's the main point of this video, that I want to talk about. Suddenly it just came, right at this end of this video. So we're trapped. We're stuck and trapped here. There's not much what we can do. We can only do within the boundaries, within the limitation of this universe, within the limitation of this existence, this life, this world, society, humanity, or whatever. Limitation. Limitation. We are only, we can only do things within our limitation, within our life. It's our own life circumstance, situation, conditions. You know what I'm saying? That's my point. We cannot create our own universe. We cannot create our own world. What we really want. The life that really wish. Or if you're imaginative like me, the whole universe. Just like in those fantasy, science fiction. Anime, manga, movies, video games, novels. Comic books and whatever. No. Sadly, unfortunately, this is what we get. We're limited. We're trapped here. It's our own life. We have to deal every day with what we're given here. Like, yeah. I have to stop the video. The battery, my smartphone battery is 5% already. Okay. So thank you everyone for watching this video. Take care always. Bye bye.